Was Blackbeard a bloodthirsty pirate demon or a marketing genius? Me and this pair of socks on top of my drum set are about to find out. As anybody who's tried to edit videos before knows, video editing is hard and takes a long time to do until you get really freakishly good at, which I am not. What I am really good at is writing. I've created a blog where I'm going to be posting a lot more content, and then I'll turn those blogs into videos because it takes me a week, if I'm lucky, to make one of these videos, but I can put out 5, 6, 7 blogs in a day if I really set my mind to it. So I'm going to be using these blogs as scripts for my videos, and you can see that right now. The URL is mrstockford.com, mrstockford.com. I'm going to get back to editing the video now. To spend only 2 years as captain of a pirate fleet and create a lasting, fearsome reputation as the most notorious pirate in history is impressive. But to live up to that reputation by finally being killed by 5 gunshots and 20 sword cuts on your body while fighting off several trained militia at once, that is almost supernatural. And supernatural is exactly how the pirate Blackbeard spent his life trying to seem. Picture this. You're a French merchant sailing in the West Indies. The weather is a bit foggy, but overall visibility is not bad. Your ship is carrying a variety of goods, largely spices and slaves, and you're looking forward to that big paycheck once you hit the harbor and sell the goods to traders. Life is great. All of a sudden, a deafening explosion comes from the starboard side. Splinters fly everywhere as cannonballs, nails, and bits of iron rip through the woodwork of your ship and your fellow crew. As you gather your senses, you see a ship breaking through the fog. It's flying a flag with a skeleton spearing a heart while toasting the devil. Before the rest of your crew can gather and return fire, you're boarded. You begin to fight them off alongside your crewmen, but they are too much for you to handle. Within minutes, they round you all up and tie you down. Then the captain comes aboard. As he comes into view, you see clouds of smoke around his face, as if his head was on fire. Is it smoldering because he's a demon emerged from hell? You finally collect yourself and realize something. You've heard of this man. They call him Blackbeard. He orders your ship ransacked before your very eyes, and you watch helplessly as your precious cargo is stripped from you. Time passes slowly as you sit terrified of the horrors that surely await you. In a deep, growling voice, Blackbeard proclaims that you're all free to go, because your captain is a coward and surrendered so quickly, leaving him in a good mood. Instead of being killed or further injured, you're marooned on an island with the remaining slaves who would not join the pirates and the surviving crew. And now you're left shaken, stirred, and destitute. This actually happened, more or less. I wasn't there, so I had to make up some of the details. Okay, I had to make up a lot of the details. But on November 28, 1717, the pirate Blackbeard and his crew attacked the French merchant ship La Concorde, marooned the crew and slaves on an island, and converted the ship into a pirate ship, which he renamed Queen Anne's Revenge. There's not really a whole lot of resources that talk about him until he's a pirate. It's generally believed that he was born in Bristol, and that he was probably somewhere between the ages of 35 and 40 when he died in 1718. But the first known documentation of this person that we can surely 100% identify as Blackbeard the Pirate is from a registry from when he joined the crew of the privateer turned pirate king turned pirate hunter, Captain Benjamin Hornigold. Even then, we don't even know if Teach was his last name. There's a number of different ways his name is spelled in sources, with Teach and Thatch being the most common. He probably made the name up to protect his family at home when he became notorious. Once Blackbeard became a pirate, the records of him began to pop up everywhere. And he was only a pirate for 2 years. From 1716 to 1718, Blackbeard created a reputation of a bloodthirsty man who mercilessly killed those in his way and greedily pillaged every ship in sight. To create an image of his fearsomeness, he would stick lit fuses in his hat around his face to make his face smoke as though he were on fire in order to frighten his enemies. It takes a lot of effort to gain such a reputation of death and destruction, but it is almost impossible to get that reputation without actually killing anybody. That's right, he actually got a reputation of being a cold-hearted killer without actually being a killer. Does that mean he was actually a big teddy bear on the inside? Of course not. Teddy bears weren't around then. Idiot. Side note, when I say he didn't kill anyone, what I mean is he didn't kill anybody that he didn't have to kill. He tried his best, as far as we can tell in the sources, to have other people do the killing or to avoid bloodshed whenever he could, but there are no sources that directly mention that Blackbeard himself killed any individual. He probably did in some major fights where he was fighting in defense or for his own survival, but when it comes to civilians, innocents, as far as we can tell, he wouldn't kill them. What he would usually do, though, is round the crew up and maroon them on an island, which, you know, they have a chance of surviving and they have a chance of dying, but really it's up to their own resourcefulness. Now, there's a number of practical reasons why, as a pirate, you wouldn't want to kill anybody. I mean, there's your own conscience, for one. Personally, I think Jack Sparrow said it best.
No survivors. Then where do the stories come from, I wonder?
Now, you know you've made a lasting impact when your career lasts only 2 years, give or take a few months, but you are known for the next 300 years as the most notorious pirate in history. After converting the ship La Concorde into the more well-known Queen Anne's Revenge, Blackbeard set out on a nearly non-stop campaign of looting, plundering, stealing, raiding, and gathering goods, hoarding them in his pirate hideout on the island of New Providence. Blackbeard worked hard during this time to keep up his reputation. In a 2008 interview, George Mason University professor of economics, Peter Leeson, commented on just how well this reputation held up. The fact that Blackbeard didn't have to actually kill anybody is an indication of what we would call equilibrium play. The reputation that he created was so effective that he didn't have to actually ever carry through on the threat that lay behind that image. In other words, Blackbeard was that cool kid in high school who only had to say they were the cool kid in order for everyone to believe that they were the cool kid. At one point in 1718, at the height and end of his career, Blackbeard was so ballsy that he decided to block off the entire port at Charleston. No one really knows why. He just did it. Armed with the Queen Anne's Revenge, 3 small sloops, and a crew of over 300 pirates, it wasn't that hard to do. Over the course of a week, Blackbeard's armada took several ships attempting to enter and leave the port, and at one point held the ship's crew hostage, demanding medicine as a ransom. After they received the medicine, for who knows what ailment, the pirates sailed north and hit a sandbar while attempting to enter into an unfamiliar port near North Carolina. Now, here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. It's possible that Blackbeard ran one of these smaller ships and Queen Anne's Revenge into the sandbar on purpose. The idea behind this, according to the captain of the grounded sloop, was to break up the company. But whether on purpose or not, Blackbeard marooned a large portion of his crew before sailing for his favorite port at Ocracoke Island. 6 months after the siege at Charleston, Lieutenant Robert Maynard was commissioned by Virginia Governor Alexander Spotswood, which is a fantastic name, by the way, to capture these pirates. On November 21st, 1718, Maynard found the ships and attacked them by surprise. Blackbeard, having recently reduced his crew's size, found himself in a bit of a hairy situation. Get it? Because of the beard? He was outmanned, outtrained, and outgunned. His only saving grace was that he knew the inlet in which he ported much better than Maynard did. In the process of the fight, both Maynard's ships and one of Blackbeard's ships ran aground. At some point, the two commanders had a brief conversation with each other, which was later described by Captain Maynard multiple times. Basically, what happens is Maynard and Blackbeard are trying to come to some sort of terms, and Blackbeard ends up saying, "Damnation seize my soul if I give you quarters or take any from you." To which Maynard pretty much replied with, "Fair enough," and then more fighting broke out. Eventually, Maynard's crew made it on board Blackbeard's ship, and found that, though they had the advantage of numbers, Blackbeard's crew was going to fight to the death. Maynard and Blackbeard eventually got into a duel themselves, which you'd think only happens in movies, but apparently it happens in real life too. Right as their duel began, they each fired flintlock pistols at each other, after which Maynard thrust his sword towards Blackbeard, only to have Blackbeard break Maynard's sword. Maynard tried to draw back so that he could fire off another shot at Blackbeard, but Blackbeard was coming at him too quickly, and in that process, another one of Maynard's crew jumped in the way and slashed the pirate across the neck, gravely wounding him. This would take out most men, right? Probably would take out me. I'm a wimp. But not Blackbeard. Blackbeard kept fighting. In fact, he fought harder. Eventually, while fighting several of Maynard's crew, he was taken out and decapitated. Maynard examined Blackbeard's body and noted later that he had been shot no fewer than 5 times, meaning there's a possibility he could have been shot more than that. But they couldn't tell because he had been cut up about 20 times. Now, nobody knows where that fight took place, but what we do know is that Blackbeard's body was tossed into the sea, and they took his decapitated head so that they could prove they actually killed him. And today, some of these fancy Caribbean cruises will take you to a point where there's a tombstone and say, "This is Blackbeard's tombstone. This is where he's buried." But they're wrong. No one knows where he was tossed into the ocean, and because he was tossed into the ocean, his body was probably eaten by crabs and shrimps and starfishes and whatnot. But it's still an important monument to visit, because it reminds us that a lot can happen in only 2 years. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it a little bit, remember to like and subscribe. I'm trying to get more content out, which is why I'm starting the blog, because like I said at the very beginning, I can get tons of stuff written in the amount of time it takes me to make one video, and I can use these blog posts as my video scripts. It makes it so much easier. Thanks again. I'll see you in the future.